Hey everybody, it's Justin and Worth with Mojitone. Today we're going to talk about pairing your pickups with guitar speakers. Much like fine wine and cheese, the pairing makes all the difference. So let's jump in.
Well, one thing that I tend to look at is the style of music that you're playing as a guitarist. Are you a lead guitarist? Are you a rhythm guitarist? Do you use a lot of pedals? Do you use your amp primarily to drive your sound?
You know, from a purist standpoint, if you're someone that really likes to push your amp into the areas that you want it, a more low efficiency speaker is going to create more dividends and tone out of the actual speaker. If you're really pedal dependent, you want a high efficiency speaker so you're getting more of a transparent representation of what you're giving the amp and the speaker. So a good example would be if you've got a PAF or a similar type output humbucker. If you really want to hear a lot of push from the speaker, you can get down to that 25 watt greenback range, and the output of that pickup is going to really move that cone. If you want to draw some of that back, you can go more to the higher efficiency range, something more like a greenback, like a 65, something with a higher wattage. You're going to hear more of the amp and the pickup itself, so the speaker's not going to be moving as much. You know, a really good example that comes to my mind in terms of single coil pickups is Stevie Ray Vaughan's rig on Texas Flood.
Oh yeah.
I think he used 2 Vibreverbs and he used Jackson Browne's Dumble amp. He used an Altec Lansing 15-inch speaker, and he used EV speakers and the Dumble cabs. All the speakers used were super high efficiency. And so he was putting a lot of volume, a lot of output in this overwound single coils into a very efficient speaker setup. So a lot of what you're hearing is pure volume, and there's not a lot of speaker movement. And so what you get out of that is a lot of low end thump and clarity, and you don't have really any breakup in the actual speaker itself.
So much headroom, a lot of power, a lot of clarity.
So on the other end of that spectrum, you've got someone like Angus Young. Even before Back in Black, they've always used plexis, they've always used 100 watt and 50 watt Marshall amps. At the very beginning, they were using 412s with greenback speakers, and they were pushing them with the T-tops in his Gibson SG, right? Not only were they using immense amounts of volume, but they were also pushing 4 25 watt speakers right to the limit of their range.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what you're going to get out of that is a lot more speaker movement. You're going to get a lot more fizzle and kind of this high-end saturated, it's almost a tearing sound, but it's aggressive and it's real mean, you know? That speaker breakup creates a nice blanket around the volume and overdrive that can make a more pleasing tone.
Yeah, to my ears, I hear a natural compression around the top end of the notes whenever I'm dealing with like a 25 watt greenback style speaker.
Another thing I've noticed with the low wattage speakers, especially with humbuckers, is you can dump a lot of treble into the signal, but because the humbucker's output has natural compression, as well as the speaker, you get a little bit of a shelf on that high end response. So it's very bright and present, but not harsh.
So if you're thinking about swapping out your speaker, just take into consideration what pickups you're using and how it's going to affect your overall sound.
Once you've decided on a speaker and pickup pairing, another thing to consider is the budget and how easy these pickups and speakers will be to install. A well-known speaker is going to run you what? Anywhere from on the low end 75 bucks all the way to $150. The price will obviously go up when you get into the Alnico range and the boutique speakers and stuff like that, but all your big box brands, you can pretty much get any sound you're looking for in that $75 to $150 range.
And Justin, with pickups at an entry-level price point, in the $150 to $200 range, and then you can get into the boutique market and spend upwards of $500 or $600 on a set of pickups.
So basically, for under $400, you can completely transform the sound of your rig with 2 components. When it comes to changing your speaker out, you're probably looking at around 15 to 20 minutes. Depending on your technical prowess, changing the speaker can be fairly simple. You'll just need a couple tools: a screwdriver, and potentially a socket set if it's more of a vintage mounted speaker that uses nuts. You're gonna need a wiring harness potentially if the one that's already in your cab is not compatible with the speaker that you choose. You do wanna make sure, above all else, that you're always matching your speaker impedance and wattage with the impedance and wattage that your amp calls for.
So Justin, swapping pickups is going to be a little bit more of an involved process. If you don't have any experience with soldering, I recommend taking it to a tech. If you can solder, you're skilled with it, you're basically going to need your soldering iron, you're going to need wire strippers, you're going to need a small Phillips head screwdriver, and potentially a multimeter.
and maybe some needle nose pliers.
Give yourself 45 minutes to an hour there. That's the typical install time. Once again, take it to a tech if you have any questions.
If you're going to upgrade your pickups, you're probably going to want to go ahead and upgrade your wiring harness as well. That's your potentiometers, your capacitor, the jack, and the switch.
And the wiring harness will have, once again, an effect on your tone. It's another variable, another part of the equation.
And with all that being said, they do have solderless options these days as well that you can look into.
So a few other things to consider when pairing your speaker and your pickups is your cabinet itself. You can have an open back cabinet, which lends for a more wide open response, less bass frequency buildup, a little bit more of a bloom in the top end. If you want to go with a closed back cabinet, that's going to tighten up the low end, push the mids forward.
Yeah, and another thing that really makes a big difference in how the overall tone is perceived to our ears is the room you're playing or practicing in, or the studio that you're recording in.
Lots of different variables all affect the tone. I think it's really about identifying which ones you want to manipulate to shape your sound.
All right, everybody, thanks so much for considering this information. We know that guitar tone is highly subjective. So these are just things that we could suggest that may help you on your tone journey to find the sound that you're looking for.